Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Rick Titus, and this is Drivers Talk. Special guest, and if you're watching us on YouTube, you've already noticed who it is. It's Tanner Foust. Tanner, thank you. We know how busy you are.
Well, I appreciate you having me on.
Now, Tanner, on your income tax, are you a stunt driver or a race driver?
I'm a race driver.
You are.
And that's been the core of my business
Okay.
for a long time. And, you know, the racing always fueled the stunt driving flame because directors or producers wanted a genuine racer to come do this or that. And then the racing justified, you know, having some authenticity on TV stuff.
In a lot of ways, Tanner Foust just shows up in a big way. But that didn't happen overnight.
Well, I mean, you know, I didn't come from a racing family. So my dad's a doctor, and I was going down the road in school. It was in Boulder, Colorado, in college, to be a doctor as well. Graduated from University of Colorado in '97, and I had been working for an inventor at that time who invented amusement rides and got the entrepreneurial bug. I wanted to move back to Colorado. I saw Second Creek Raceway from the airplane landing at DIA in Denver, Colorado.
We know it.
I drove to it. The guy who came to kick me off the track, I ended up swapping out mechanic work in return for seat time. And that's the bug bit pretty deep at that point. And I know this sounds weird. I got a job at an ice driving school in Steamboat, Colorado.
Did you really?
Yeah, and that was all rally techniques, you know, Scandinavian flicks and pendulum turns and all of that kind of fun stuff.
I mean, car control. You're describing car control.
That track's operational like 4 months of the year, but you're sideways for 4 straight months. All the car control and everything I got out of that applies every single day.
Rallying starts to take off, and I have so much respect for those cats. I think they're some of the best drivers in the world. But then rally cross comes up, and a lot of us have been around a long time, weren't really sure what this was all about.
And I saw a video of Marcus Grönholm driving a little Fiesta rallycross car in Sweden. And I was just like, oh my gosh, these things are rocket
You mean the
ships.
400 horsepower little...
600 horsepower. They're like 0 to 60 in 1.9 seconds.
Oh my God.
They're wickedly quick.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, we got to figure out how to do this. We figured out sponsorship with Rockstar and with Ford at the time to go over there and do some races, and raced over in Europe for a while in these rallycross cars. And it was a sport that had been around for 40 plus years. Every country had amazing permanent tracks. They were like, you know, 50-50 gravel and asphalt, a lot of natural jumps and rolling hills, and just awesome. Only about 1.5 miles or so
Right.
in length. X Games started picking up rally as a kind of a sport here in LA. And so they had a rally cross event, and that started in 2006. And so I, you know, worked hard to bring the whole sport of rally here to the US. And that series started, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago.
And not to overly focus on rallycross, but let's face it, it's a growth sport. People love it because it's all occurring right in front of them. I'll be candid. It's a lot more aggressive contact to contact than I was expecting. I've seen you
Me
on
too.
some starts, and I suspect there's not a lot of Christmas cards come your way certain years because
It is
you've got to be
aggressive.
assertive, man.
It is aggressive, and I used to think it was more aggressive in the U.S. than in Europe. But
I was going to ask you that.
It's gotten very aggressive in Europe too. It wasn't like that too long ago, but it's the only FIA sport where there isn't a penalty for contact.
You got to look at this path. You go to road racing first, then you're in ice learning car control, then you're doing drifting, and now look where you make your living.
Yeah, it's super fun stuff. You know, drifting was a great thing for me. I know it's not
Interesting.
considered a motorsport by some, but it was a great thing because it was more of a marketing event rather than a racing
Oh, that's
event.
interesting.
And so you had the director of marketing for the tire companies and manufacturers at the track rather than the motorsports director. And as you know, the marketing guy has the bucket of water and the motorsports guy spends the drop. And so you're tapped into a change of perception of these brands.
Wow.
And when those drivers sign on, they're a brand ambassador for the whole brand, not just for a sticker on a car.
Is the competition is still in effect for drifting, or is drifting a side element to another race these days?
They don't attach to any other motorsport, and they sell out every venue. They expand their program by live streaming. I think they have pretty impressive numbers, and so a lot of that can't be denied. Now it's a household word. People understand what it is, where 5-10 years ago they didn't.
Racing puts you in a predictable situation. You have an element of control and certainly a level of anticipation of what's going to be expected of you to occur over the next few minutes. Stunt driving can put you in a whole different circumstances instantly. How did you end up in the stunt side of things?
Well, road racing, as I quickly learned, was very expensive, was the path more traveled by people who wanted to get into motorsport. And a lot of them were more funded than I was. For 8 years, I did drifting and rally racing through the forest simultaneously. And Dukes of Hazzard was a movie being shot, and the director was like, hey, we're going to have a rally race through Hazard County. We need rally racers. And so I got my first stunt job.
Now you get to throw into things that you don't get to practice for. Talk to me about some of those situations.
I love stunt driving. It's super, super fun. I mean, sometimes the big movies, it's about crashing.
Yeah.
And that's not as fun for
Yeah,
me.
go figure.
It's more fun for some people, but yeah, for me, it's not as fun. But I love the technical driving. I love driving for camera. I love knowing where the camera is, where the action is, what the actor is about. Is the actor learning to drive? Are they supposed to be the super pro, slick, smooth in every move guy, or what? It's an amazing industry making movies and making car commercials.
What's the most memorable one where you went, maybe I should be racing right now?
The most fun movie I ever worked on was Tokyo Drift, Fast and Furious, which didn't have the big acting in it, but it had a lot of driving. And the driving was a big part of the acting, because the guy was learning to drive was the whole story. Just so much time on the edge of cliffs with seatbelts that didn't really work, having a mohawk instead of a helmet. Just a lot of danger involved in that. And, you wouldn't have walked away if you crashed, but you're pushing the limits. We were on a Sousa Dam here near LA, and there's little CGI dots everywhere where they made the cliffs a little steeper, but they were still cliffs.
Yeah.
When I saw the movie and I saw they had changed the cliffs, I was like, man, we could have shot this in the church parking lot.
Exactly.
And it would have been a lot safer. But, that movie was so fun because it was such a challenge. And I learned so much, actually, drifting that car. We bought the same car, very similar car, similar turbo kit that the movie car had, and then competed in Formula D and won the championship twice with it after
No
that.
kidding.
Yeah, so I had it was 60 nights of driving that car. So I had a lot of practice. But that was the most fun experience stunt driving I think I've had.
There you have it. Finally, our interview with Tanner Foust. Follow this guy. He knows what he's doing. Hey, and subscribe to us, too. Yeah, you in that blue shirt. Punch that subscribe button, and thank you very much. We appreciate it. We wish you open roads and safe motoring.